Hi guys, so this is going to be a twin flame, soulmate, divine counterpart series. Use whatever label you would like to that resonates with your personal journey so far, okay? Because one thing that I've learned myself is following a label and sticking by the meaning of that label will keep you limited, okay? And through this series, this is how we break ourselves free from traditional expectations. So label it what you want, but also be prepared to break free of the conformities. So this, I'm not sure really how I'm going to start this. I'm kind of going to leave it up to the universe. I wanted to come in with the expectation of defining the labels, but I feel we're just going to let it go with the flow, okay? Because I feel that anybody who's going to be drawn to this will resonate with it. Okay, so angels, guides. When we're looking at divine counterparts, twin flames, soulmates, karmics, whatever label people have put on it, it's all about a journey of the self. So we have release. I absolutely love this to begin with. I want two more, voyage and blessings. Okay, this is absolutely beautiful, okay, because we've got release. Now, release we know is very much like out with the old, in with the new. It's very much like autumn energy, where the trees will shed their leaves in preparation to go through the transformation of the seasons and bring about brand new leaves. And as we know, some trees, like say for example you have fruit trees, some fruit trees have really bad years and some fruit trees have really good years. So some years the fruit tree can be have a bad batch, and the next year the batch would be absolutely perfect, and it literally has nothing to do with the ground, because the ground is always the same, right? It's just how that tree develops within that year. And I feel this is like very much the message for anybody listening now. It's like your release, what you have to shed or what you have shed so far is there's no right or wrong. It will always be a duality of dark and light and love and hate, you know, whatever opposite you want to put on a word, everything has an opposite. So this is a message. I mean, I could typically say alignment, but actually it is a journey, because do we ever fully align? We're always going through the transits, aren't we, of ups and downs, fast and slow, action and procrastination, truth and hidden meanings. You know, there's always something deeper. And I think this is where, you know, we can learn to forgive ourselves slightly when it comes to procrastination, stillness, putting a pause on things, because without that sense of learning to be tranquil in the busyness of everything that's around us, we wouldn't learn to find parts of ourself that we would find when we're in a crowd. You know, when we're in a crowd, we would generally adapt to those people around us, to those energies, just on a subconscious level, just to fit in. Some people don't, and that's perfectly fine. But it's very much like that when we take ourselves away from the busyness of our surroundings, and we find some form of inner peace. But that inner peace comes with costs at times, because we still carry a lot of discomfort with us that we have either had projected onto us or that we've caused ourselves. Guilt, fear, shame, in whatever label you want to put on it. Bear with me, I think it's getting dark on my camera, so I'm just going to go and turn my light on. Hopefully that's helped a little bit. Okay, so with these three main cards, it's about releasing. Voyage is about learning to trust your, I kind of want to say your inner guide, your inner voice, but your inner child, the carefree sort of spirit that you are. Because through that trust in self and through that journey comes enlightenment and growth and fulfillment. That's not the end goal. It's not to say that's the end goal. It's us getting a little bit further on in our journey with strength, resilience, learning to face adversities, learning to understand not only ourselves but others around us, learning to release any need for control. So when we're talking about codependency, in some cases obsessive thoughts or obsessions, when it comes to other people, especially when we put the label of twin flame or divine counterparts, it's almost like when we look up the meaning of it, we're learning a version of somebody else's perspective and not our own. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we will always learn of other people. But the biggest teacher is your own personal experiences. So we could have an experience where, let's say, for example, the counterpart has been gone for a little while. The counterpart comes back. Whether you've pulled them in or whether they've come off their own back, the point is that there's always going to be a trigger because of your need and want and desperation for this spiritual connection to work. Because being physical beings, being humans, it's built in us to have companionship, you know, whereas the spiritual journey is very much a journey that you can only experience yourself. So it's about how do we align those two and bring them both into our reality. Because it's all well and good saying, I've learnt this, I'm healed, this is how evolved I am. But just because the other person doesn't conform to your spiritual perspective, it's almost like an attachment of expectation. And then I've even done it myself. I've heard other people doing it or saying it, where it's, I'm more evolved than the counterpart. They need to catch up with me. But actually trying to control situations, any situations in our life, will just minimize what is due to come to us, if that makes sense. So we're all on a personal journey. The people who read this caption and listen to this will probably resonate with this journey so far. But what I want to do is, now we've kind of taken a little overview of connections, however you want to, like I say, define it, I just want to get an idea of where the collective energy is to anybody who actually listens to this currently. So where is the... I don't want these cards today. I would like these cards. Where are the energies? So we're going to have a look at, because it's a twin flame, we're going to have a look at the Divine Feminine, which would generally be the person listening to this. Then we're going to have a look at the masculine. So the feminine and the masculine. The masculines are more, I just saw the Emperor. The masculines are more the action takers, aren't they? You know, and the feminines are more like the emotional bodies. And it's how in this journey we will learn from one another independently. It's like I said earlier, we learn from one another and take traits that we like to resonate with ourselves and use those traits in our life moving forward. So let's have a look at the divine. Let's have a look at the feminine first. Doesn't mean it's a male or female, it's just whoever holds the emotional body and the traits of a divine feminine. So let's have a look. Messages surrounding the divine feminine in this collective reading. So we have the Hermit. Oh, I'm going to put these back because there's actually loads here. I see the Hermit here as always almost like a truth seeker, but actually I feel that sometimes the feminine energy can be looking for the truth outside of actually themselves. Some of you may have already got past that stage, but I feel the ones that I'm connecting with now would be relying on, let's say, the masculine to give some form of, I don't want to say closure, opinion, if that makes sense. Looking outside of oneself rather than trusting the deep depths of knowing that sits within you, which is very much based on your personal experiences in this life and far beyond. So it's about learning to see the truth and the answers that sits actually within you in order for you to have the trust in yourself to independently and consciously make choices and decisions. It is a very, very, very emotional journey, and it's very emotionally draining, and it comes with a lot of reassurance and self-reassurance, only self-reassurance really. So let's have a look at what other energies there are for the Divine Feminine here. Whoa. So we have the Eight of Swords and the Ten of Cups. Now, where we're talking about the Hermit is normally the energy of looking deeply within oneself, but I feel that this is misrepresented in the energy fields by you trying to get some clarity or truth that exists outside of you. But you already have that based on the actions, based on the responses, the reactions to your actual personal experience. So the Ten of Cups is almost like your wishes and dreams. Bear with me one second. Sorry about that. So it's almost like this is the inner vision, your wishes, dreams, your hopes, your desires. It's actually everything that you're trying to manifest on the outside, but with a sense of control. Now, it's about, like I say earlier, it's about releasing the need for control and watching how you allow it to flow in. And you've got the Emperor at the bottom, so that's where we'll be going next. The Emperor energy can be, so say for example, interesting how it's just come out when I'm talking about the Divine Feminine. The Divine Feminine sees the deep depths of the other person without literally physically seeing it. It's a knowing. So if you can trust that knowing that you feel in the other person, it's asking you, why can't you trust that knowing that's within yourself? It's almost like you see the version of the other person that is so energetically resonant with you, you just feel that person for who they truly are. And the other person doesn't necessarily believe that much about themselves, although from a physical perspective, they'll probably be very outgoing, look confident, even try to convince themselves that they're confident. And the reality is that the masculine, for example, doesn't like to see the truth of themselves, because it comes with a lot of unboxing, and that takes time and emotions. And a typical masculine energy likes to avoid emotions and stay solid and grounded, because they have their own self-reputation to maintain. It's very much like, taking this back to the feminine energy, it's very much like having a conversation with a best friend. You telling your best friend, or anybody, how you truly feel, and your best friend or whoever you're talking with from a deep personal level calls BS. They know that's not you. They know that your opinion is flawed somehow. They know it's not your true, authentic self or your opinion. They will call you out on it. But sometimes we struggle to face that reality because it makes us question our intuition. It makes us question who we are. It makes us question ourselves based on the choices that we've made. And if we could make mistakes and choices that put us in some form of confusing situations, then maybe, maybe we're not as intuitive as we thought. Where actually all of those experiences that we had control over are actually there as a representation to teach us. So the thing with a masculine energy in this reading here, the masculine is very much the words that came to my mind was self-obsessed, but not in a way where it's very much like, it's not narcissistic, sort of egotistical sort of pull energy. It's more like this person's had to deal with so much in their lifetime that the way that they protect themselves now is what's worked for them. So their emotional vulnerability is almost non-existent, because they've learned how to not be reliant on others. They've had to find their own way. And a lot of the feminines have had to do that, but very much with an emotional sort of background, whereas the masculines will have had to prove themselves to a point where emotions weren't a thing. So let's have a look now a little bit more in depth at the masculine. We're going to use different cards for that. So tell me about this Emperor energy. Tell me about the subconscious of the masculine. Subconscious, judgment, Three of Wands, and strength. So subconscious, I see them it's almost like there's been people who have been seemingly influential in the masculine's life from the past, and it's like the protection technique that I just spoke about a moment ago. It's not just that, it's like what I have is what I deserve, and I am defined by that perspective. I am defined by who I judge myself to be. Like, it's almost like surface level, and anything under the surface doesn't actually exist. So although there is this deep resonant energy of niggling energy, which keeps them kind of at bay from their truth, they have had to learn to develop a certain amount of inner strength, and that takes a lot of energy. In order to suppress any experiences or emotions will take a lot of energy, and those emotions generally that we would normally feel, I'm not saying that they don't feel, I'm just saying that it's a choice not to feel them, would be replaced with frustration, anger, resentment, almost like the opposite of what we work towards. Like, we work towards healing those energies and compassion, but then through compassion and loving and understanding, when we're trying to do it on an authentic level, it comes with a lot of loneliness, it comes with a lot of heartbreak. Whereas the masculine learns that closing the door on the deeper emotional understanding and seeing it from being able to say, for example, if the masculine can control their frustration and their anger, they're winning, basically. And the frustration and anger is just an emotion that they know how to deal with. Whereas compassion is not a learn. I say compassion because I'm wrong when I say compassion, but I'm hoping you understand, like, forgiveness, understanding comes from a deeper place. It comes from a place of having to work through those fears, you know. And it's like some masculines can and do, but they have more of a logical sort of expression when it comes to emotions, and it could be as simple as boys don't cry, you know. It could be that simple, and that's how they've been taught to put a lid on it. The Three of Wands is telling me that in some of the masculine energy that I'm feeling here within these counterparts, always out there looking for something to come in, but nothing seems to represent a fulfillment. They're relying on physical forces to give them what they need, and it's a long game, because what they actually need exists within them. And this isn't to say, oh, they need their divine feminine and the divine feminine needs their divine masculine. No, we don't work that way. We're working on a way where we resonate with somebody so deeply. That person has taught us a lot through our journey so far, and we have taught them a lot through their journey so far. And it's how we use, I kind of want to say abrasion, like, you know, when you cross paths with someone and or you rub things together and then it can cause an abrasion. I don't know where that's come from. It's almost like using the abrasion energy or the abrasion experience. Because when there's an abrasion, you kind of jump away, don't you? When it gets too close and it hurts, it's like, oh, you know, you feel it. So it's almost like using that experience as a very healing part of their journey. So what the divine counterpart, the masculine, is actually looking for is an experience within themselves, whereas the feminine is searching for an experience outside of themselves. So it may well be that the feminine here has also worked very, very, very hard on self, release yourself from, you know, deep abrasional patterns, and using that repellent, like magnets attract, then if you turn the magnet around when they're not ready, it kind of repels it, doesn't it? Using that repellent to now go and have a brand new experience somewhere else, whereas the masculine is almost like being taught to step away from those outside experiences that aren't working and go within self. And the feminine is being asked to go and have experience outside of self by using the wisdom that they've gained in self. So I don't want those anymore. I'd like to get messages from the angels, messages from the guides, the universe, the higher selves of the divine counterparts. We've got laughter. Live life as your inner child, you know. The thing is, you may well have had a difficult childhood. Then we get to adulthood and we almost live as if that experience defined us. This is saying you are now the nurturer of your inner child. Have fun. Be a child. Be the child that you never got to be. The spiritual journey isn't just about releasing from darkness or understanding all the darkness. It's about embracing that too and turning it into something magical, a fairy tale. You can create your own fairy tale. We all have little dreams when we're younger, don't we, about how a fairy tale would, like a princess meeting a prince and blah, 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 blah. This is about us creating a very own version of what we want our fairy tale to look like. So when we're using our mind or fears to control us, we're going to be sort of reliant on approval from other people. We're going to have an expectation that that counterpart is going to come back and save us or progress with us. But actually, they're just as free as we are. So why would we hold that expectation? And even when we do kind of come into that collaboration with each other, there's always, with anybody, there's always a level of expectation. It's called boundaries. Some people don't like boundaries and will just go away, and that's absolutely fine. Whereas others, you know, have been through those experiences where there have been lack of boundaries, and it's more about self-respect, and this is how I expect to be treated because I've already had that experience before. And again, that is perfectly fine. We just magnetize the right people or repel the wrong people. It doesn't mean that we're any less There are millions upon millions of people in this world, and for us to think that we are just meant to be with one person, I feel is a massive mistake. Because one person, ask yourself, why are there millions of people in the world? Because we're all here to learn something from another person. I like to use the concept Chinese whispers. Like, I've got a little story, or I've seen something, or I've got an idea or a concept, perspective. I'll whisper that to you. You'll then interpret it in your own way and go and tell that to somebody else. And then that somebody else will go and tell that to somebody else and somebody else and somebody. And then suddenly you've got like these Chinese whispers, and it gets to the end and it's sounds absolutely nothing like the very first message. And that is exactly what life's all about. Molding parts of other people's experiences or stories and making them our own. Like, if somebody says, oh, I went to watch this film and I thought it was absolutely amazing. Oh, and then you'll be like, oh, I've actually been wanting to go and watch that film. You could go and watch it and think it's the worst film in the world. It's literally down to your own personal perspective of that experience. And that's why we never always vibe. We learn from each other. We learn to live with each other. We learn to love one another, you know. And if we can do that from a place of balance, where we're learning to balance the seeming negative sort of energies that surround us, the fears, the constructs, all of those sort of things, then it would make life a lot easier. Shift your energy and contemplation. This is beautiful. So shift your energy and contemplation. And I feel this is obviously a message in between. Shift your energy is all about doing what's right for you and moving towards things that are right for you. Contemplation. This is an energy of not regressing, not reminiscing. This is an energy of figuring out what it is that you want to do next. What experience do you want next? How are you going to perceive this experience after listening to this reading, for example? Because this message is very much learning to go with your natural flow, learning to vibe with the flow. This is about recognizing and being independent and accepting the counterpart for who they choose to be in this moment without it deeply reflecting or triggering you. Disagreements, miscommunication, unwarranted expectation, unfulfilled expectations. It's okay, because everybody is moving at a pace that works for them. It doesn't mean that one is more evolved than the other, because the other also has things that they can teach us, you know. We're all learning. Remembrance, resurfacing of past feelings and emotions. I feel that very, very much for the masculine energy. At the bottom, we've got eternal love, happiness, harmony, and fulfillment, and sacred earth mother, a message of love. And I think this is where you can now send out that energetical vibe into the universe, whether it's through meditation or you just sit here, claim the reading, claim part of the reading that might have resonated with you, and just send out love and happiness, and, you know, send out for the other person or people to be fully in their own alignment, because that's all we can ever be. So this reading I did want as an introduction to the twin flame concept, to soulmates, to anything that you would resonate with that sort of energy, divine counterparts, it's almost like an introduction for you. Like I say, some of you who's listening to this would have been way into this journey by now. Some of you may just be starting. And it is a reminder of the natural process, the natural flow. And it starts, and it always starts with you and yourself and how you allow that energetical flow to flow through you. So I want to get a divine feminine message, obviously, for the divine feminines. So let's get a divine feminine message now to clarify this, and also for the masculines, because we hold both embodiments, feminine and masculine. It's almost like working on our strengths. So we are more strong in the feminine energy, whereas the other person will be more strong in the masculine energy. And we just work on what works for us. And the other is a fear, isn't it? You know, action taking, stability, compassion, loneliness, contemplation, procrastination. It all can be a fear depending on how you resonate with it. So the message for everybody is, oh my goodness, I love this. Lolita, the red goddess. Playfulness is a spiritual power. Laughter leads me back to the light. Look at that. Laughter. Very, very, very strong message. Okay, so let's find Lolita and see what her words are for the collective right now based on this reading. She is page 88. I will... Here we go. Her message. Answers arrive from disengaging with the energy that created the problem or question to begin with. Interesting that as a great start, because we're talking about the concept and the constructs of how people believe these spiritual connections are actually meant to be. Like, if I go through this this evolution, I will then be with my counterpart. You attach yourself to the expectation of that person wanting to be with you too, and it's not how it works. And it's interesting because you're disengaging with the energy that created the problem or the question to begin with, and that's the label. It's the meaning of the label that they put on it. We so often hold tight to what we desire with a grip that actually inhibits it from arriving. That's control. And we often take the soul by the collar and demand to know an answer right now. But when a desire is an imperative, there's an inability to be playful, imaginative, and childlike with how and when that desire will arrive. We've hit on all of that within this reading so far. The secret to desire is holding it lightly. The secret that the Red Goddess knows is that we already have everything that we desire, so we can trust that what the soul craves is and always has been ours. This is the levity that sparks a shift, a change, an expansion. This is the moment that we remember we are not separate from what we desire or from the divine. Lolita is that brilliant moment in a fight between lovers or friends when suddenly someone mispronounces a word and both crack up laughing. That brings the laughter into it. She's the levity that comes when we loosen our death-like grip on what we think we desire. She's the gorgeous, much-needed reminder that we don't have to suffer our way to what we want most. The path to what we desire and to becoming the soul we need to be in order to receive it can be paved with joy, with divine play, and with a sacred process of lightening up all along the way. So the soul voice meditation is, how can I add more playfulness to my life right now? And the intention is, playfulness is a spiritual power. That laughter leads me back to the light. So remember to have fun and experience this in a very light-hearted journey, and not embrace those fears too deeply, like the fears of rejection or the fears of not being wanted, because actually it all starts with who you are and learning to find the depths of who you are. Absolutely beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know how this resonated with you as the introduction to your divine counterpart journey. Whether you have been on this journey for a while and you just needed the reminder, or whether you have just started out and you've been labeling this relationship and basically comparing it to others. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd be very interested to know. And thank you for your time. Bye.